Alright everyone, we're making a trellis, more like a pergola type trellis that can be used for just about anything, just to sit under. In this case, I'm going to use it to tie my hops up with for home brew. First thing I'm doing, because I have a small truck and the hardware store is so far away, I am tying together, encasing, and it's also for appearances, some 4x4s. And I didn't want to get the big ones because they have a tendency to twist. Even these small ones twist a little bit, so by casing them, you add to the appearance. You could get bigger long lengths and try to keep them straighter. So how I'm doing this, I'm taking my two 4x4s and a 1x4 appearance light board and screwed it together. Pretty simple. Do that to all four sides. What I did was the cross beams, different sizes, I've taken and used it as a guide and lined them up correctly. So I've got a little lip and I won't have to dado anything. I'm just going to screw it on there. It'll have a little extra hang. Okay, so now that we have our four posts, total of 12 feet long, I'm going to take the first cross brace, and on the end here I have drawn two patterns and I'm still working on deciding which one I like for the little dog ear. I'll make that simple. Coffee can. Put it right up to the edge. Trace it. This side, trace it. And that side, trace it. And I'll take the little jigsaw with a wood blade and get that cut. So here's what we're looking like at this point. Got a couple of them. Go pretty decent. And we'll be ready to figure out how to bolt these on to the posts. Now that we have the dog ears cut on the main two cross beams, got the posts laid out here on the ground for a rough idea about how we're going to go about this. There's the posts. Yes, they are long. Hops will grow extremely tall, which is what this will be used for, but you could use shorter if you're making it for something else. Just got a place where I'm going to drill holes and put a couple of carriage bolts in and decide which face I want facing towards the house that we'll see all the time. Okay, I got 8 6-inch carriage bolts. I'm going to use them and drill the hole through the main support and the post. This is how we're going to bolt it together. I wouldn't recommend like everyday deck screws or even nails or spikes. They will warp and tear apart, making your project look senseless. So, and what I've done is I've clamped, once I got one set made in the main beams, I've clamped them together and drilled holes in the second set, so they're exactly the same. I will do the same thing with the 4x4s. Okay, so now we have holes drilled in each of our 4 posts and our main beams. Now we're going to just use a 2x6 to connect the front to the back. What I have here, 2x6 by 8 foot, I'm going to cut it in half. And that should be enough. I'll have one extra at that point. Okay, so I have cleaned off the ends and squared them up. When you're lining this stuff up before you drill, make sure both posts laying on your ground are straight. You may have to shim the back end of them to make them straight before you drill, because your bolts are going in there. Once your bolts are in there, you're straight. That's all you're doing. You don't want to drill multiple holes. If you drill multiple holes, you're still going to end up more crooked than you started. Okay, I wanted to show you this. My original hole that I drilled that I just showed you, right there. This one. Secondary hole. Make sure they don't crisp. So on my brace towards the depth, it's much closer to the top. And I'll just throw a couple of regular old deck screws in the bottom. And same thing on this end. Only I went the bottom side. My original hole, it's exactly the same place as the other one. My new hole. Okay, so here we are, drilled my holes, offset, one top, one bottom. Same on these ones. Boom, boom. Just the best thing I could tell you is mark everything. Like front, back, back, front, front. That way you know exactly what you're doing. Make your grid like I've done. And the key. So okay, so here's where we're going to put all this. Everything ready to go for the frame. Got the posts, caps, and the end boards. Here's one growing right there. Second year hop. Okay, we got our first hole dug and our first post just sitting in there. I'll wait to throw some concrete down in there until I get the rest of them in and get them tied together. Hole is almost 40 inches deep, so pretty deep, pretty tall posts for the roof. There's sentinel hop. I gotta hurry up because that thing's to the top of that little stick. It was just a marker. Using a manual post hole digger, prepared to be wore out. Your arms will feel like jello. Okay, I got 2 posts in. Before I do any cementing, I'm going to have all 4 of them in and tied together, make sure everything's plumb. My 6-inch lag screws. No mishaps. Okay, here we go. We got the main structure up, halfway level. Not exactly straight yet, but I'll fix that in the morning before I cement. Posts are about 3.5 feet down into the ground. I'm just going to throw couple bags of Quikrete down there in the morning. Once I'm sure that I got everything exactly plumb. I took where I drilled the holes I think I showed you. I'll zoom in there and fit like a glove for the right amount of everything. So everything I was able to rest them on there, slap a clamp on, and just pop them through the holes, with the exception of the last post I could not seem to get right. But either way, let me step back here and show you. There's what she looks like. She's about 9.5 feet tall maybe. And have a spot for my hops to go up. Okay, update on where we're at. Got everything ready to go, all braced up. Had to lift this one up here, so I kind of wedged it up with a cinder block and a 2x4 and shoved a couple of scrap pieces of wood under the edge there to hold it up, and that pretty much leveled the whole damn thing. Got it braced there and there in the meantime, just to kind of be safe. So now we're just going to dump a couple bags in each hole and then use the hose and fill her up with water. Update on the trellis. Have the braces removed. Heads are sunk in. Probably going to have to go a little more after it gets weathered. Not going to stain it or anything. Going to leave the post holes. Going to leave them exposed for a little bit. Birds walked in there and stuck their beaks in. Okay, so I made a cut here. A couple of practice, just to see what they would look like. That's 18 inches. See what the wife thinks. I may want it 12 inches also, in case you're wondering. that end there to the main post is 10 inches. So I want to come out a little bit further. Just for aesthetics, I guess. Up here real quick, show you a couple of other details. Sunk the heads of the light bolts all the way in. That's what 6 inches. I probably could have got away with a little shorter. This stuck out pretty far, but you know what? You're not going to see them, so this is just a rough cut. So propped it up straight. I just hurried up and did it without any real thought into it. There we go. So I've made the trim boards so each side can rest on them. See that? That one's up in there. Just created a little half flap, wedged it on there. I'll show you how I did that, and I'm going to do the same thing on this. So it'll sit down about halfway, sticking up. Let's go see how. Okay, no fancy tools here. Made my measurements. Okay, and just clamp these together. And all I did was adjusted my circular saw to the right depth, made a series of cuts this way, and then I took her off. Chisel, hammer, cleaned up the scrap out of there, popped right out. All those little slivers that are left, and they'll come out. Okay, we have our first template finally made. Okay, so I chiseled the joints and threw that first slab in there. Well, we'll see after the next piece. Okay, so I've got 3 template things up there. About 100th time I've tried to figure out how far apart they need to be. And it looks about right, about 15.5 inches. Those are 2x6s, 2x8s are going to look a little beefier like the one on the end here. Those are just template pieces, they're not straight or anything. Okay, got all my pieces. Got this stack hooked together. Sanded the ends just to get them lined up a little better. And I made my notch for my front, so they will all stick out the exact same. Just took the circular saw, drew my line, and went for it. Made a bunch of slits, and then I took the hammer and chisel and chiseled them out. So it'll fit right down in there. A little. Okay, at this point we have the all the joints made. Got the cross boards with their joints cut. Everything should slap together. Maybe throw a screw or 2 in, and be done with the damn thing. Finally. All right, gang. Pretty much finished product. Everything fit together wonderfully. Had to make one extra cut because I screwed something up. But as you can see, it looks good. All I want to do now is take and run some slats across from there over there. Probably just 2, just to keep them true, keep them straight up and down, all that jazz, and then restring this bad boy. And oh look, these ones are coming up too. Feel free to drop me a line, leave a comment in the section below.